Welcome back to the second episode of our interesting conversations. Today we have two very interesting guests. Rajat, welcome back to the second episode, and we'll also have Pauline Sim from United Overseas Insurance (UOI). So I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. The questions are going to be different, but it's still just very friendly conversation about all things insurance related. So welcome to the podcast. And if you haven't heard our podcast, the first one we did, we had a really interesting conversation as well about Chubb and how Chubb is becoming the engineering organization in addition to the insurance organization. So we had a really fun conversation. So if you haven't heard it, have a listen. And during that time also we had a good introduction from the hidden unicorn of InsureMO. Yeah. So again, if you want to find out a little bit more about it, please check out our first episode. And Pauline, I think we've met quite a few years back. Yeah. I think when we were running the FinLab.
Yeah.
So
probably 2017.
2017, yeah. That's what I was going back to my notes. I was like, okay,
FinTech
wow.
Festival.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was quite a wild journey. You were there during the fintech days, heydays, and
very early in Singapore. Yeah.
So I think it's very happy to see you here with us now talking about insurance.
Yeah. Likewise, really happy to reconnect with you. And also, actually, I didn't know the MO in InsureMO is middle office.
Yes.
Something new I learned today.
Yeah, people thought it is
you
Woody's,
just made it up.
Woody's last name. Always people thought this is Woody Mo. Mo. Yeah. But ideally I think
both of them. It's a mystery.
Yeah. I think in 2017 it was really interesting when I was in the bank. And then FinTech was relatively new in Singapore. And then MAS set up the first FinTech Festival. So we've really come a long way. I think this year the team is celebrating 10th anniversary of SFF.
Wow.
So the team has already reached out to all the SFF ambassadors to say, hey, let's celebrate together. So it'll be quite a fun year this year.
Fantastic.
So catch you there, yeah.
And now that you're head of strategy and transformation, so this is really, I think, a very interesting topic for us to unpack during our chat. Yeah. I think I wanted to start first, maybe for some of the listeners that we have. They know UOB, a lot of them in Southeast Asia, is such a kind of a huge franchise and a well-known brand for banking. But I think UOI is probably a little bit less familiar to our listeners.
Yeah.
So maybe if you can just give us a little bit of like a snippet of what is UOI, and then kind of give us a little bit of background as we go into the conversation today.
Okay. Actually, just something my good friend said. He said, the best things are done when it's under the radar, right? Like great work is done by startups under the radar, not a lot of hype. So, as a VC, which my friend is, he has to go all out to search for good companies. I think, the work that UOI has been doing is somewhat like that. I think a lot of great work serving the community. We are 54 years this year. So for the past 54 years, we have been supporting the businesses and the individuals in terms of general insurance. And general insurance, for folks who are maybe not so familiar, includes simple commoditized products like travel, motor, home insurance. So every news we read about a fire breaking out in a home, we will check, is this our client? Yeah. So those are the retail insurance products. And for commercial insurance, it's also very interesting. So, for example, the place that we are right now is a business premise. We also take care of the accidental risks or accidental events that might happen to a business, whether it's on their property or something that happened to their neighbor and that affects their property or their business. So that's the whole gamut of general insurance that UOI has been covering all these past 54 years. And, we have been faithfully serving our customers. But, of course, our customers are evolving. And the goal is, and what is one of the things that the team talks about frequently is, how are our customers evolving? How do we continue to be relevant? and to meet them where they are in terms of insurance requirements. Yeah. So I think I'm not sure about again the level of awareness that everyone has on insurance. In particular, general insurance is something that I would say is almost mandatory. You don't need the government, and you shouldn't need the government to tell you, hey, you need to buy this in order for us to buy it. Every time we travel now, we always think about travel insurance, right? So there are a lot of insurance coverage that we actually do need, just that maybe the awareness is not there, and therefore whether as individuals or as business, we kind of just overlook. So UOI also wants to kind of bring this forward and bring more awareness to our clients about where you in particular need this insurance and how it will really help you where there are accidents that happen. Yeah, so that's the
okay.
that's
no,
what
that's really interesting, and I think that leads me to my first question. Is when we think about UI, and you say that it's kind of a 54-year history, and it's kind of been around for quite a long time, and you're right that it's probably a little bit under radar. But why now is that kind of a transformation journey? I'm kind of hearing noises that there's a lot of very exciting things happening, and I think we're going to start to hear a lot more of it. I'm also a consumer of UOB banking, so I'm kind of every time I open, I'm like, oh, okay, where is the insurance?
Yeah, so I think you are, let's say, a client, right, and you now are looking at, say, apps to look for insurance. So when we think about the journey that we have been for the past 54 years, faithfully serving, but now we have new segment of clients, or clients who have become more digital savvy. So we all know COVID kind of accelerated this whole awareness and adoption. So we want to be where clients are, and we want to serve clients at the place where it's most convenient to them, where it's most intuitive to them. So that's the whole drive behind the transformation that we have kind of set out to do, that we have, and the plans that we have shared and announced. I mean, at the center of it all, it's really what our customers need. So we don't want to kind of do things that are not relevant to in the end the people that we want to serve. Yeah.
So it is being about being where the customers are,
Yes.
and being in the form that the customers are looking for.
Yes,
basically.
and I mean how they prefer to consume insurance, how they prefer to access insurance, and what do they really need even, because I think our lifestyle have also evolved. So what are the new areas, or what are the new requirements a business or an individual might need when it comes to insurance.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, Rajat, I have a question for you. So you see many insurers across the board, and then when you kind of hear the insurer talking about transformation, how do you know whether they're really serious about it, or whether they're kind of just saying like, okay, it's a strategic thing, but actually doesn't translate to actual transformation?
Yeah, I mean, everybody is looking at a transformation, specifically in this age, specifically the last 2 years, and when we everybody has no idea about where they are going to be heading to. And today, every insurance company or every bank that you see, so there is a person in the board sitting who is responsible for AI, right? So transformation has a very different meaning altogether today. And likewise for us, so every touch point that we have, everybody is looking at that as the next road of transformation, right? For us, where we figure out, and we work with almost 500 carriers, we work with almost 6,000 channels. Where we see success coming from is one, the seriousness and endorsement in terms of understanding the consumer, right? And also the reality of what tech can do and how much can they build, right? It's always build versus buy versus an approach, right? So where we see carriers who are more kind of realistic in terms of the tech that they can adopt and build unique customer experiences for their own customers, that is something which is, we feel that the success is far, far beyond, right? And then the second aspect is, how many of these customers actually feel tech to be a real enabler, right? Simple example, a lot of insurance companies are still running on core monolithic technologies. Core system as a concept, we believe as an organization, has completely gone away. One core system cannot meet the need for the transformation today, right? So that's where we look at insurance companies who've actually been building layers of engagement for their customers, right? Having a stable system of record, which is for their own staff, having a layer which is giving them clean data to go and enable embedded channels, to go and create new customer experiences, essentially enable some amount of AI use cases for them. That's one. The second is what line of business and how these customers are placed. UI specifically, so there is a bank associated here, and the bank is a reputable bank, one of the most reputable banks in Singapore. So a bank is a mothership for an insurance company. That I believe is a gold mine, right? That itself is a big business, because when you talk of banking as an industry, that's a high touch industry, right? That's a very heavy transaction, and there is a huge amount of potential in terms of embedding stuff there. So we believe companies like UI, where there's an association with a large bank, we believe there is a big runway, and there's unlimited amount of opportunities which we see jointly as partners to UI, where we can grow. And then affinity partnerships, etc., as Pauline is talking about. So we are already exploring with UI on how can we actually bring more of these embedded offerings in the bank assurance space, as well as in the affinity space as well. So I believe that's where we see the kind of some of these hints where we see the success will be there, and that's where we start investing jointly and make this thing as a future thing for these companies.
Okay, that makes sense. And I guess what I'm hearing is that the transformation that is no longer like replacing a core system that is going to take us 6 years and millions of dollars, and then kind of nobody really knows what is the actual purpose of it. But it is really about focusing on agility, building agility, but also kind of the specific business results and outcomes that are linked to it at the executive level.
So data itself, you look at UI. So when we first met up with UI, so UI obviously was existing, right? And as you said, everybody wants to understand what UI was. But the fact is, we had an insurance company, so they had a core system. But the fact is, it was not meant for them to, kind of realize the potential that is there. So that's where the thing was to unlock the data for them, to jointly figure out what can we do with this data. Can we make that data more useful for bank assurance and for these channels as well? And I think that's where we are working with UI to kind of enable that middle office for UB, keeping the system of record intact, whatever that is, and just making them relevant from a transaction perspective in your front and middle office.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think it boils down to, again, like the kind of services that our clients need, right? I mean, so we all still transact on banking. We all still need insurance. So the synergy that Rajat was alluding to is really how do we bring greater convenience if you are banking with, say, UOB, and then you also have that access, easily to UI, right? So that's one of the targets that we have, really to bring greater convenience. But we don't want to get lost in technology. I mean, I think there's really a lot of hype today. A lot of providers. It's easy to kind of get lost and start to wonder what's right for us, what's the best and all that. I think it's not about that. That's why we try to center our planning around really what does our customer need. And our customers include people who have been with us for a long time, but also people who are kind of like new into financial planning or financial needs, right? Or even people who are now evolving in their life stages. So all these are the considerations, and the data is there because we have been operating for a long time and serving this community in Singapore. So there's really a lot to unlock. So I mean, very exciting time. Our transformation and our partnership started last year. And it's been quite it's like last year was gear 1, but this year is like gear 3.
Okay.
So
Skip the gear
we
2.
just jumped to gear 3. Yeah, so super exciting. Yeah.
And what was the trigger for the transformation? Like what it's quite an ambitious program, but what was the trigger for it? Because things that customer needs are obviously evolving and is increasing as the COVID progressed, and more people kind of came online. Yeah. But was there a particular trigger that UI realized that we need to change now?
Yeah, I think it's generally a reflection of things are moving so fast, and also like look at all this opportunity that we have. UOB itself is also growing in the region. And UOI as a bank assurance partner, we want to be able to support the enlarging base that UOB has. But we also serve clients that are not just through UOB but also through our intermediary partners, right? So when we reflect on all this, I think the idea is we want to bring UOI to the next chapter. And the next chapter will be one of growth and also digital and customer experience. So that's the trigger point or the consideration.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, super interesting. And I guess you have a pretty interesting and pretty diverse background, but large part of it was spending in the banking side.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, just out of curiosity, like how do you find banking versus insurance and transformation on one versus the other? Is there kind of any structural differences or cultural differences that you find?
Definitely there is, but I think beyond that, I would say I think transformation is hard for everyone, and it's challenging for every organization. Small organizations, so I worked with SMEs before when I was in the FinLab. Small organizations have limited resource, and therefore the ability to drive through transformation is challenging. Large organizations have certain level of complexity and considerations in terms of the business processes, so also challenging there. So I think it's also not apples to apples. I would say it's really challenging on every industry to drive transformation. Why? Because for us to drive, there has to be consistency and also persistence. So if it is really just to tick off a checkbox, after you are done, you can move on and say you have done transformation, but the outcomes will not be there and the adoption will not be there. So if you really want to drive transformation with the end objective in mind, then we have to stay steadfast in our goals. And that often means continued investment, not just in the tools and the technology, but also in the people and the skills. And I think one particular thing is culture also. Culture is often pretty overlooked when people talk about transformation. So the thing is, culture, you can't find a vendor tool and say, okay, let's change culture. So I think the will and the commitment of the organization to drive this by investing in the culture as well would be kind of one telling sign of whether this would actually be successful. Yeah.
So the culture between the UOB and UOI, I'm just very curious.
Actually, I would say that there's a lot of similarities in terms of that culture, because I think the customer centricity it pervades throughout. So the reason, the why of why we want to do things, it's quite consistent. Also, the people-centric approach when it comes to dealing with our customers or dealing with internal staff. We are a very people-centric organization. Yeah, so that's one aspect of the culture.
I see.
Yeah, but we have our challenges. So
No, but I think it's also telling that you went from the banking side to the insurance, and there's that kind of a cross-pollination of talent. I think is very powerful, and obviously it's a very successful bank and insurance company that has been growing more and more during this time. So I think it is very interesting. The other question that I had was in relation to kind of when you were looking at partners for your transformation. So clearly you can say, okay, we can go with consulting companies, we can build something new ourselves, we can work with the startups. Like, why did you what was the trigger to decide that, okay, we want to work with the InsureMO?
Like that, I'm always the one. I think we were in touch quite early on, and I think firstly the objectives need to be aligned. It's not, I would say at that stage it wasn't really about the tools, because everyone would say that their tools are the best and their tools are great. It is really about the objectives of each of the organization. And I understand that InsureMO has this vision of being that middle layer, driving embedded insurance, bringing insurance closer to clients, which aligns with what we want to deliver as well. At the same time, I think in terms of how both teams have been working and communicating, there is a certain chemistry which actually it's pretty important. And of course, like I think InsureMO understands our ambition. So we have a certain ambition for the next few years, how we want to grow and what we want to grow into. And I think Raja and team has kind of invested and demonstrated commitment to be a partner for us on this journey. So it's not going to be overnight, right? And we don't want partners who come in and deploy solution and disappear. We want someone who is willing to run with us in the long run. And of course, we have to have our usual RFP processes. Through the process, this was demonstrated, and the commitment was shown. So that's one of the key reasons why we work with InsureMO. Of course, I think the opportunity to do beyond just technology deployment, but also on partnerships, really maybe creating a different experience for our customers together. That's something that I personally feel very excited about. Yeah, to kind of reinvent general insurance, for businesses and for individuals.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds exciting. And when we talk about UOI, so Singapore is clearly a hub, but you also have operations in the region as well, right?
Currently, we are primarily focused on Singapore.
I see.
Yeah, but of course, we do support our the UOB's regional offices through the local partners that we also work with. Yeah, so I would say while Singapore is our home base, we are pretty active in the region as well. Yeah,
makes sense. So I guess the other related question is when we talk about distribution and everybody's excited about digital and potential for all the embedded stuff. What I'm hearing is that you also have partners that are more kind of a traditional partners that are blending that experience. So it's not purely digital, it's not purely offline. Now it's kind of becoming more of a hybrid approach. Can you share a little bit about kind of how that transformation is working?
Yeah.
Is it something that is kind of already been implemented, or is it something that is kind of a work in progress?
I mean, okay, maybe I'll answer this two ways. So one is the variety of channels that we have. So bank assurance is one. We have direct, I would say online, and then we have offline, which is through our intermediary. So the whole gamut of channels we are serving through. So of course, I think we have to be relevant in terms of how we deliver, be relevant to the channel partners and to the end customers. And the other thing is, I'm not sure if you guys feel the same, but when I use, say, apps, right, super apps that are so easy to use, very convenient, and super functional. But whenever I use these apps, right, I always know that if anything happens and I need to find someone in that company, which could be a big tech company, I know I'm going to have a very hard time looking for that service person, right? Because that's how the big tech set it up to be, right? I mean, everything is self-serve. You submit a ticket online, but I don't get to talk to a human. So that's not what UI is about. So and this is particularly relevant because we are an insurance company, and client needs to reach us when they have claim, right? So while we consider digital, we want to digitalize where it brings convenience, but where customers actually need us to have a human, that's why we would like to have a human to provide that personalized touch. Yeah. So it's not like full digital, but of course full human in today's day and age. We are not leveraging on technology if that's the case. So hybrid will be kind of like a good balance. I think the key is really where do we deploy digital? Where are the best places where we still need that human to be involved in serving the clients? But let's say if you transact on the app and if something wrong happens, right, then you want to be able to walk into a branch and say, hey, can you help me with this?
That's true.
And that person personally picks it up and helps you to solve it. So that's that hybrid that we are talking about.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I think that approach works really well. And it's not, it cannot be, I think, 100% digital. Like, I had an experience trying to find the contact number for Amazon when the package didn't arrive. It was like, I think I needed to like spend 10 minutes just looking at where is that place to contact somebody.
Yeah.
So I totally get it. Maybe a question for Rajat. When you see many insurers, right? You work with many different insurers across the board. When you see the insurers attempting that transformation piece, what are the common mistakes that people make or companies make when they're trying to drive that transformation?
Insurance companies specifically, this is one industry where they don't control the customer, right? And many companies, if you remember, insurance companies started building apps, right? But if you go and look at an app of an insurance company, the amount of downloads that you see will actually tell you the real picture of how many consumers have actually downloaded the app. So that's where we believe insurance companies who, again, realize the value of partnerships, which means partnering with companies who are more closer to the customers, e-commerce, banks, fintechs, telcos. So these are the industries where the touch points, high velocity transactions are happening, right? So I talk to my telco every second. I talk to my bank through an app maybe 10 times a day, right? I'm doing all these transactions for the need. So I'm getting my food delivery, all of that stuff. So these are my high transaction touch point industries. So companies who realize the importance of that partnership, right, they are more successful in generating the business from their own transformation standpoint, right? Tech is just an enabler. So that's where I think we see success for every large company. And I'm not just talking about digital new age insurance companies. I'm even talking of companies, government companies in India. So we work with NIC, we work with SBI General, one of the largest banks in India, a company which is working with them. So these are companies which have a long pedigree, very traditional, companies who have transformed and who've made that mix, as Pauline said, right? You need to have a mix. You just cannot be completely digital, and you just cannot be always, stuck in the past with a human trying to, solve your problems. So I think that hybrid approach does work. You'll have to have that kind of a small incubation and have to build that model to start eventually growing. And that's where I think the success is coming from. And again, it also depends from industry to industry, right? So if you talk of PNC, yes, the digital is far more adopted, embedded is far more there. If you go to life, so there is still amount of agency, still amount of advisory, which is still required. Agent-led models are still existent. But again, even those industries are transforming because AI, agentic stuff, is actually nothing but assisting a human to deliver results quickly, right? So advisory is becoming AI-enabled than AI-led today. So again, there is a technology aspect to it, but I still believe there's a human to tech angle which is there as well. So all these industries, all these large carriers, all these large enterprises who've kind of adopted that into their own model rather than completely giving the old traditional model, I think that's where the big numbers, the successes we see at least coming from. And at the same time, new age companies who've been completely cloud native, completely digital. So they essentially start with being digital, but essentially go to the agency-led model as well. Right? So we see them also successful because you can't ignore one part of it. And that's how the insurance industry is. And I think that's where the numbers are also. Numbers still align with banks and the agency model. So, and I think you guys know it better than me. You've been in the carrier side yourself, you are running an insurance company. So I think that's where the numbers are still.
So it's changing that orientation from inwards, which was typically where the insurance companies were spending a lot of time kind of looking inside, to very much on the kind of a partner orientation or the distribution orientation to kind of understand really where those needs are, where the convenience points are, and then kind of driving through that. So I think, I've also seen that when the transformation programs focus too much about, again, kind of upgrading our system from system A to system B, and people are spending a tremendous amount of time and effort, and everybody's frustrated. And at the end, they look at it and say, like, why did we really do this? Like, what threw us onto the journey, and how do you actually measure success out of it? So,
I mean, I think there's a lot of rich insights from these service providers that you mentioned that have been serving the customers for the longest time. So I think the rail operator is one. So much insights there and opportunities to kind of like introduce, other services. So I think, I mean, both of us, we had a conversation once where Rajat actually challenged that, no, providers don't have the customer insights, go to the, the service providers. And I think, there's a certain truth to that. I mean, there's a lot of areas where we can kind of merge and combine the services. And insurance is actually quite an event-triggered kind of thing. Like you will not buy travel unless you are traveling.
True.
You only consider car because your road tax is soon to be renewed, right? You have to renew your road tax, you have to renew your insurance. So it's a very event-triggered thing. So, the key is really to find us there at the right time, right place. And we actually might not have all the information. So yeah, I think partnership does work. And a lot of opportunities that we identify there.
Makes sense. And then I guess Rajat also alluded to a little bit about the hot topic of AI and everything. Is that something that is kind of a big focus for the transformation, or is it more kind of saying like, okay, the gear one was we kind of reorganized our infrastructure.
Yeah.
Gear three is we're running, and then gear five is maybe the AI.
Yeah, I think AI is unavoidable. We have to look at it, but it's actually easy for organization to say, okay, let's implement AI or we do a POC. Personally, I actually feel that AI actually will have to force us to rethink the whole organizational setup, how workflows are done, how it really should be reinventing our ways of working. Yeah. So I again, it's not about just deploying a tool and using that tool. I think the true opportunity of AI is really looking at redesigning how we work. But that will take time and a lot of discovery also. So we are, for you or I, we are quite happy to be on board the program that MES has, working with fellow providers and also practitioners to kind of learn together. I would say we don't have the answers, but we are happy to look at Gen AI and see, the most relevant and the most impactful areas where we can deliver it here. At the same time, at the back of our minds to consider what's the bigger impact and the more long-term effect of AI implementation.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. And maybe kind of I think we had a kind of interesting conversation, and it seems like, there's a lot of very exciting things that are happening. How do you think about success? Like, how do you think about those milestones or measurements for you to say like, okay, here we're reaching what we set out to do? Because transformation can be an ongoing transformation, but I think at the same time it's important to measure that success.
Yeah, I think I think transformation is not one of it's it actually should be ongoing because everything is changing so fast. So I believe a good company would be looking at areas to always be improving. So for us, I think we definitely, of course, want to take in customer feedback, and we actively actually invite customers to give us that feedback, and ways to improve, how we have done, and we use that to kind of bake it into how we design our products, how we design the experiences. So that's one kind of indicator for us. Of course, the other things are the milestones that we want to hit. Whether it's business goals or implementing certain things that we need to build for long-term capability. So those are the other areas. But like you said, transformation is always ongoing. So we take delight in the small wins, and then of course we celebrate if we hit certain milestones with our partners. So those are the things that we will look for.
Makes sense. Rajat, maybe one question before the kind of how you see successes of this transformation progress is when we think about the distribution transformation, and now it's becoming a lot more hybrid, as we kind of said, like there's some agents There's some independent partners. There's some digital partners. All this kind of a blend of digital, different distribution. How do you see that enabled through the platform like the InsureMO platform?
I think we are very straightforward in our vision. So we are a tech company. We are not a broker. We are not an intermediary at all. And all our investments are into building a tech which can enable a carrier like a UOI, or can enable a channel like an Amazon, or a telco like a Viettel, or a fintech like a Cred in India, or all these companies, where they can have a platform and they could use that to design their own use cases that they want to. Because what is happening is insurance is today led to imagination, right? And more than carriers, I believe the channels, they are more innovative because they can imagine multiple scenarios. And that's where I believe, for example, one single motor product, a simple fintech in India, they are looking at that simple motor product into 10 different ways. So there are 10 to 20 variations of one motor product. And we never believed a fintech app could actually sell a four-wheeler motor product, and that's beyond even our imagination, but they proved us wrong. All we did was just to provide them the real APIs, provide them the plumbing in the market, which gives them the right product at the right price that they want to do it. And then they are using those APIs to embed into the scenarios that they can imagine, right? And that's what is enabling this amount of innovation, because we are not the ones innovating those products. We are just giving them the infrastructure so that they can innovate. And second, they can fail fast at a very, very low cost. It should not happen that, they spend 6 months spending hundreds of thousands of dollars or doing something and then it goes flat, right? It should not be like that. The cost of innovation should be very low, right? Whether that is AI, whether that is APIs, whether that's a new product innovation or it's a partnership, everything should be in a reusable fashion. And there should be multiple variations that people can create based on the scenarios that they imagine. I think that's our play, and we stick to that, right? And we just keep enabling. We also learn from the industry. So the more we work with these partners, so that's where we learn, we adapt our platform to scale that. For example, when we started off, it was mostly PNC. Then life became very big for us, even on the embedded side. Then eventually we saw commercial. Today in the US markets, we are looking at commercial specialty as a massive, massive play. And people always felt that, it's a very back office type of a business, very offline written business. There's not much of a role that tech plays. Today, we are enabling that to all kinds of scenarios. There's AI agentic scenarios that we are implementing in a commercial specialty scenarios, right? So that's where all we have to do is invest on the tech and then leave it for people to innovate using that tech.
That's very, very interesting. And then a follow-up question for you is, in terms of kind of where both of you see maybe a broader insurance space in the next, let's call it 3-4 years, because everybody was very excited about InsurTech. There was a lot of money invested, a lot of time invested, and then I think there's been progress, and there's been I think there's some really exciting things that came on the back of it. Probably a little bit less kind of a big bang transformation or disruption as people anticipated. But I think kind of gradually that really there has been a lot of improvement of efficiencies, removing the frictions. But as now we kind of see that maybe plumbing being a little bit more in place than what it was 5 years ago. Where is that next phase coming in? Like when you think about, we need to be there in terms of transformation, but where is that kind of a exciting thing in the next, let's call it 5 years?
Yes, you're right. So InsurTech probably hasn't picked up the way fintech did, right? The amount of transactions that fintech brought, which means they started eating up into banks' payments, that was real. And we saw a lot of those fintech payments actually got diverted to a lot of these fintechs, and essentially because of the wallets. And then there's a lot of infrastructure that a lot of governments also invested in. So that did happen. And I think the whole industry believed in the same thing to happen with InsurTechs as well, right? And essentially what we feel, there's a lot of hype as well, right? So people actually brought a lot of hype, probably investors put in a lot of money as well with the promise of, delivering it. But we still believe that insurance is still a big boys game, right? That is still true. All the big insurance companies are still growing at 20-30%. They are transforming, and they are the ones which are still changing the industry, right? There are insurtechs which are doing bit into new areas, and all of that stuff is happening. But I believe the whole industry has to go through a plumbing, right? And that's where we invested our vision, right? So whole vision of the company was to go and build the whole connectivity in the industry and bring standardized components to make insurance as simpler as possible. That was the first thing that we tried to do. Rather than making it so customized that it becomes difficult for the consumers to understand, it becomes difficult for the carriers to launch to the market, and the cost of doing this is too high. So one is standardization of the products as much as possible. Second is connected. Everything has to be connected, because once you're connected, once we have pipes everywhere, that's where the cost drastically goes down. The network effect plays into that, right? Because once you have 10 connected, from then 10 to making it to 1,000 and to 10,000 and to 1,000,000 is a far easier game. So that's where we are working towards. Infrastructure is nothing but basically pipes and having standard components that we bring to the table. And we see in the next 5 to 10 years, the stuff that we've done globally in 40 countries, the amount of plumbing that we are building, and it's still nowhere perfect, right? We're still learning, we're still trying to enter new markets. But I think we see in the next 5 years, the more plumbing we bring, the more standardization of the products we bring, the more SKUs that we offer to the industry. That's where the innovation will increase, the velocity, the volume, and the variation, the 3 V's that we talk about, that essentially will actually deliver the exact result which is required in the industry. And that for us is success. We today do $25 billion in GWP, which probably is not even 0.1% of the total GWP. The day we do 50% of it, probably we'll say we are successful.
Okay, that's a good ambition. Love it.
Yeah, I think, so I resonate with what Rajat said about, the so-called big boys play. I mean, at the end of the day, insurance, it's a risk-taking business. And you do need capital to do this business. So the insurtechs that we have seen, typically the innovation is on the customer experience end, but the products still come from the insurers, the carriers, right? So the innovation, if it's only on front end, has been limited by what the insurers is able to provide. I think that was probably the challenge. So I would say in the coming years, I think generally most of the insurers I've seen, they have some form of innovation, transformation. So I would say we can look forward to more product innovation. There is actually a lot of innovation happening in insurance, just that people, it's not visible, because we underwrite many things, and how we underwrite it, how we price it itself, sometimes I find it's quite amazing, and innovation in itself. But these are not retail products that everybody knows about. So there is a lot of innovation that can happen at the product end in terms of what we insure, how we accept the risk, and how we price it. So that itself, it's one. Of course, I think in terms of the customer experience part, which is mainly what we have been talking about, how we deliver the insurance, using technology, how can we improve customer experiences, right time, right place, being embedded, giving convenience. So those are the things that will likely to make a difference in the next 1 to 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say these would be the areas. So since we both sound aligned, I think we have a chance to make a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rajat.
Yeah. Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
Great.
So the day UOI has 50% of UOB's revenue, we'll probably say that yes, we made it.
We'll aim that. Yeah, we'll aim towards that.
For me, I have a much simpler hope. I hope that as I continue using UOB Bank, I can buy more and more of my insurance directly through that, because now I'm looking for car insurance.
Okay.
Because I used to be of WD, and I think they stopped the car insurance, and it's a bit of a painful experience.
Yeah.
So
correct. I mean, I think on the product, it pertains to the product. I mean, it needs to be sustainable, and so the customers don't get disrupted, whether it's in terms of profitable line of business, and also benefits that make sense for you. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Maybe one last thing is each one of you, if you can give one advice to your industry peers, insurance industry. So if you were to kind of say that, okay, here's one advice is they think maybe about embarking on the technology or anything else, actually. Maybe I'll start with you, Pauline.
The circle of people in the insurance industry is quite small, right? So, and the practitioners, generally everyone, I mean, they know one another. I feel sometimes for disruption, you need somebody who is outside from the industry. So I would say for transformation, it is helpful to have a external third-party pair of eyes and views, and to have that representation inside the business, and give that external point of view. I think that would be super helpful, and it has been helpful for URI. That's one, and of course the other one is how we actually run transformation, whether it's delivering technology or looking at culture. I think we should look at leveraging what we have. So, for example, when we delivered, or we are still delivering the build together with InsureMO, we are using Agile, right? Which is very fast speed. So I think in the past 8-9 months, we have launched so many products, and some of my friends will be like, you sure you launched this number of products and these portals? I was like, yeah, we did it with InsureMO. Yeah, so I think the speed of which we are doing and the mode of how we are doing it, using Agile, it's interesting because it's not just the project management team that's delivering together with the tech team, but also the business users. And the business users are running Agile with us. So we use that to kind of drive a certain cultural change as well. And I think culture will kind of drive the momentum of transformation. But then, of course, we also need the good partners to come about. So I think probably there has to be a multiple variables to consider when we want to run transformation. But how we anchor it has to be the end objective that we want. Yeah, so that's...
So be ambitious and also find good partners to work with.
Yeah, good would be suitable partners.
Suitable
yeah,
partners.
there are probably many good partners,
Yes.
but not all are suitable.
Okay.
So find a suitable partner that's aligned with your ambition. Yeah, and don't underestimate culture and people. And people part, bring in external views. Yeah.
Makes sense. Perfect.
Suggestion I have to make is, if you have to solve a problem, let's go and solve that piece of problem. You don't have to go and boil the ocean, right? And that's where our approach is. And I completely align with this whole mindset is required, first of all, right? So if your problem is around distribution, you can go and solve the distribution problem. You don't have to start ripping and replacing all your technology stack, right? So that's where our approach is, look an MVP. First of all, transformation starts with small steps. Take some small steps. Learn to walk, right? Invest small and see the results that you get from your investments. Then you start running, right? And that's our approach. So MVP, look at small MVPs, look at quick results that you get before you start investing millions of dollars into a core system, moving from one to another core system, right? So our idea is every modern core system is a legacy, howsoever modern that is. A box is a legacy for us. So that's where get out of the box. If you want to build something, create something outside of it. Build purpose-fit technology. Have APIs which are ready for you. Reduce your cost of dependence on very heavy technology. So lay down the foundation for your stuff, right? So your foundational element becomes very, very important, right? So these are things that we always suggest to our customers, to our partners, to look at a 2 months, a 3 months MVP and see the results that we can get. And then when we say MVP, this is not a POC which is done in a lab. This MVP means, can you go live? Can you issue a policy? Can you see something happening? And can you touch and feel that? I think that's the kind of suggestion we can give from a tech standpoint. And the second suggestion probably is everybody should buy motor insurance policy from UOI now.
Thank you.
Yeah. Increase our volumes.
I'm very
And
happy.
Travel as well.
And personal accident.
Excellent.
All of these we have launched already. Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much for your time. I think it's been a fun chat.
Yeah.
I've also found out quite a few new things as well. So thank you for sharing those insights. And thanks, Rajat, for also sharing some really interesting things happening in the InsureMO side.
Thank you so much, George. It's always so much fun.
Yeah.
And again, Pauline, thank you
chat.
so much. Fun chat. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.